Many of us don't consider construction-grade materials when building cabinetry, but should we? With material prices so high, what if we're leaving valuable alternatives on the table? Today, I will break several different materials using a hydraulic press to see just how viable these materials can be. For this test, I have put together several assembled drawers with the following materials: OSB, CD grade structural sheathing, sandy plywood, and MDF. All the drawer boxes were made to the same dimensions and are 1/2-inch thick stock. They all have solid bottoms of the same material, glued and brad nailed onto the bottom. The drawer boxes were constructed with wood glue only as an adhesive and left to dry at least 24 hours before testing. I am using a hydraulic press and a shipping scale to calculate the pressure being applied. The shipping scale included a digital readout which will help us see the results. I will place the drawers under the press and then apply pressure slowly until there is apparent damage, and then push through until the material has either failed or cracked through all the way completely. The point of this test is not to test the strength of joints, but the strength of the material itself if it were used to build a drawer box. I am sure that this test is not completely comprehensive, and obviously it does not account for finishing these materials, but my main goal is to gain a better understanding of whether these materials really are suitable for cabinet construction under normal use. For these tests, I will utilize 2 cameras. One will be pointed at the material and another pointed at the digital readout. OSB stands for Oriented Strand Board. The material is made by taking wood strands, mixing them with resins, and pressing them together with heat and pressure to form a uniform, solid panel. OSB typically gets a bad rep because it has a tendency to swell when exposed to water and after time becomes soft. It is not true plywood, even though you could technically argue it's many small plies glued together. Either way, it is often used as a replacement for plywood in construction due to its consistent strength across the panel and that it is or was significantly cheaper than plywood. After nearly 240 pounds, the OSB gave way and cracked through, although it did continue to take weight until it finally separated in between its own layers. Medium density fiberboard is made from the byproduct of milling, sawdust. MDF is made by mixing sawdust and adhesives into sheets and pressing them under heat and a lot of pressure, which results in a solid, dense panel that is uniform through and through. MDF is known to be a bit harsh on tools because it is so dense. If you've ever had the pleasure of cutting it, you also know the dust it creates is awful and terrible for your health. MDF is also horrible at handling water and becomes practically unusable if it touches water. At nearly 340 pounds, the MDF finally snapped all the way through after some serious deflection, but it held strong. Sandy plywood is generally regarded as an easy to stain and finish material that carries advantages to softwood plywoods without carrying the cost of hardwood plywoods, while carrying a very consistent appearance. Sandy plywood began to crack until snapping around 310 pounds and finally breaking all the way through at 350 pounds with an absolute slap of a noise. This is sheathing rated low-grade plywood that is rated for its enhanced shear strength across the panel per the APA. Shear force occurs when forces are acting in opposite directions across the panel. This is critical for home building. Based on prior experience, I have seen this plywood turn into potato chips after a lick of moisture. Despite the fact that it is made using water-resistant adhesives, it is not rated for exterior applications. An incredible result. We maxed out the scale at over 440 pounds and even bent the bottom frame of the shop press without any breaking. So there you have it. You can definitely use some or all of these materials to construct drawers and cabinets and save yourself some serious cash. Even better, the strongest material, CD grade sheathing, is only around $42 a sheet at the time of this review. If I haven't convinced you by now, then it's time for me to put my money where my mouth is. A while ago, I made these shop carts, knowing that I'd need to add storage to them later on. So naturally, now is the perfect time. Adding a drawer insert to any open space is really a straightforward process. I learned this process by watching Brad from Fix This Build That. I'll link his video below. After taking some detailed measurements of the open space in the cart, I can begin cutting down my material. Since I know I'm working with 1/2-inch material, after I have my measurements, I will use the relative reference technique instead of marking and measuring since it's more accurate. If you're not familiar with the relative reference technique, essentially whenever you need to cut down a piece, you can place 2 pieces of your material on face up against your stop block. This will automatically subtract the exact amount of material taken up by the side panels of your drawer insert. This means no marking and measuring guesswork and less opportunity for human error. However, I will caution you now that you should add just a little bit of wiggle room to your relative reference dimensions, or else they'll be so tight to your workpiece that you'll spend about a half hour tapping it into place. Since I already have solid bottoms installed on the cart, I just need to focus on the insert sides, the divider panel to divide the drawers, and the upper and lower support rails. My plan is to divide the upper shallow area into 2 drawers and leave a larger drawer on the bottom. I am using full extension 22-inch drawer slides left over from my workbench build. Depending on what size slides you'll be using will determine how deep your insert needs to be. Moving on to the assembly, I'll take the chance now to add pocket holes to the support rails. The support rails will be installed first, then I will add the upper drawer divider and attach down into it through the support rails. This part you will need to mark and measure. No relative reference here, so be sure to double check your measurements. Now that the frame is assembled, it's time to slide it in for a dry fit. I would not recommend attaching it yet. We still have drawer slides to install, and that will be much easier when it's not set in place. After confirming the dry fit is good, we can install the drawer slides and insert the frame into the workpiece, making sure to inset the insert the same thickness as our drawer faces. Keeping true to my test methods, these drawer boxes will be assembled using the exact same method. Glued butt joints and a solid bottom glued and brad nailed. I won't bore you with this build footage, so let's fast forward to installing the drawer boxes. I installed the drawer boxes and decided to wait on the drawer faces since I ran out of time, but they'll be the exact same material with a drawer pull on it. Now I have no doubt in my mind that as you build longer spans with these materials that the strength will decrease. However, even with the size of these drawers, they still feel incredibly solid even after I wailed on this thing to install it. So there you have it. You really can build cabinets out of construction materials. If you guys like this test, check out my shop tour or my top 5 shop organization tips video, which I've got queued up right here for you.